All right, guys. So I saw this video from Pirate Software, and he's talking about the War Within, and I got kind of razzed on my last video for being hopeful about it. So let's listen to him talk about it.
This is going to be horrifying. I played World of Warcraft yesterday, like a lot, actually. I went and did their pre-expansion content. I went on and I was like, I want to understand why people are saying that the War Within is compelling. The reason why I find it to be compelling is because something I always loved about World of Warcraft was the story. Before Magny Bronzebeard turned into a diamond that kept saying the word wounds over and over again. And I was like, Jesus Christ, just shut up. Like, I hate it. I love the story of World of Warcraft.
So I think what he's about to say is that the story for the War Within actually looks very hype. And I agree with him 100%. People... The cinematics that have been coming out for the War Within are some of the best ones that I've seen for a super long time. Those anime cinematics, or the anime cinematic that they came out with, was so compelling and just badass from the get-go. The fighting in it looked absolutely incredible, and I don't know, man. I just feel like they're going in a direction that people are really going to like. Everybody wants to be doubtful about it because of the fact that it's been such a tumultuous time over the past, right? I know Shadowlands was pretty universally panned. Dragonflight sort of brought a lot of people back in and gave new players this experience that was very unique to Dragonflight. You know, if you think about the fact that World of Warcraft has been around for 20 years now, when you think about all the expansions that had come out, while they all had their own kind of flavor, it was sort of the World of Warcraft experience, and it always had been the World of Warcraft experience. And people could very easily relate Burning Crusade to vanilla, and they could easily relate Wrath of the Lich King to Burning Crusade, and then all of that sort of changed when the Firebenders attacked. No, it sort of changed whenever the Dragonflight expansion came out. It was the first time that I remember logging into World of Warcraft and playing it where it felt completely different because of the movement around the map, because of the ways that the world events were interacting, the events that were happening, all the different patches that came out sort of felt like they had their own little thing going on, and it really kept me entertained. And so I think there's a really good chance that the War Within might save World of Warcraft. And I know that that's such a big ask of this expansion, but it could be extremely good. And I think that the Delves especially, the ability to solo content that will get you ready for raids so that then you can go and pug for these raids effectively and have had all this training and test yourself in the Delves, I think that that's going to be a really, really cool thing, because one of the biggest complaints that I see from people who are playing World of Warcraft as new players, and there are a lot of people who are new players out there. I still consider myself a new player, even though I've been here for a couple of years now. One of the biggest complaints that you hear from people is that just getting into raiding is super hard. It's this big ask of you. There's too much time that it takes to actually queue up for a group, find a group of people, go to the pug locations, try to get into a guild, all these things. It's a huge time commitment. And I know that to the people who have already done that time commitment, that feels like the best part of the game to you. And I totally think that you're valid in saying that. But to a lot of us who haven't put in that time commitment already, we want some kind of way to still experience the content, even if it's not exactly the same way that you're experiencing it. And I think the War Within is trying to give us that.
Champion, the wounds. Like, I hate it. Dude, I hate it so much. And you know what they did? At the beginning of this goddamn story, you know what they did? They went and showed Magny Bronzebeard and how he'd been abandoned by Azeroth. And he was like, I don't care about any of this. I feel totally betrayed by Azeroth. I feel awful. And he was like all, like, tarnished. And he looked like and he's like, look what she left me like. And he just feels awful. And it showed you that, like, his insane idealism led him into a bad direction where he was just being a fanatic for something that didn't make any sense that all of us hated. And I was like, that's great character progression.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. And it moved into a direction that I was like, this story seems way more compelling for me. I'm interested in seeing where they go. And this entire event, what they've been doing is they're making world quests basically around the map. And those world quests are memories from the rest of World of Warcraft. So, like, one of these could be like, how many of you guys ever played WoW and you had to do that quest where you have to get the boar liver? And the boar liver just never drops. Like, every one of the boars just has no liver until one of them finally does.
Yeah.
There is a world quest that is this. And it's called...
I'm so aware of that feeling in MMOs, where as you start progressing into the game, the drop rate of the item that you need for the quest is smaller and smaller because they're trying to pad out the experience more and more because you have more and more room in between your levels, and they want you to feel like you still have a purpose while doing your leveling content. So it just gets more and more ridiculous.
Like the hyper pristine giga liver or some stupid And everyone goes there and kills all of the boars until someone gets one, and then everyone wins. And when it spawns, like when it gets it, like every time you kill a boar, it'll be like no liver or wormy liver, gross, or like all this kind of And then when someone finally finds it, it spawns a liver that flies up into the sky and it's golden and like spins around and has like particles, and then everyone wins the quest. And then everyone gets rewards, and you move on to the next quest. They're making fun of all the ridiculous moments. There's actually one that's like Tar and Mill versus South Shore.
People love notifications in games too. People love to congratulate other people. They like to feel like they're all sort of joining in the experience. And as these games become more and more antisocial, because we're used to playing only in lobbies with our own friends, because that's the way that games have shifted. It's not these random giant free speak lobbies anymore. Most of the time, everyone's in a Discord, or they sort of know the people who they're playing with. We don't have as much of that communication. So putting things into the video game that make you notice when somebody who you don't know whatsoever has something good or really bad happen to them makes you have a reason to talk to that person, especially when you're all trying for the same thing, and it's just excellent. RuneScape does a really good job of that by, if you're in a clan and you don't know all the people, you just join a random clan and they have it set up well, everything that you do in that clan will notify the people so they can all see your progress as you're going, and it's a really quick and easy way to make friends.
Which is cool, and you like go out there and you kill a bunch of NPCs. There's one where you go and fight Hakar, just out in the open world, and all of them are colored like the Azerite color, where it's like golden blue, where it's like egg yolk, you know? So like shows me very clearly that they're caring about the story, and they're actually interested in not just the most bombastic moments from the history of WoW, but the ones that as a community we enjoy.
They're self-aware.
The nostalgia that actually mattered to the community. The Hogger with the undergeared effect, exactly. So Hogger, you can actually fight Hogger, and he gives you a debuff sentient. Called undergeared. And you have to fight other monsters while you're fighting the boss to level up, because you're doing quests while you're fighting the boss so that you can be fully geared to fight him. And it's just like, it's cool because it shows you that not only do they understand that Hogger was interesting, but they understood why it was interesting to the community. They did the research to make sure that if they were going to do a nostalgia thing, that they did it correctly. And if you have a dev team that is going into this with that in mind, that means it's going to be good.
100%.
And I think that that's a good thing. Like
when a dev team knows what made the game good, that's how you get good gaming. Genuinely, 100%. I say this all the time about old school devs. The way that people used to have to work their way into video game development. Nowadays, anybody can download an engine and start putting together some piece of crap game. That's pretty common. But back in the day, if you wanted to make a video game, the commitment levels that you had to have because of how new the technology was, how cryptic the information was, how you had to study and learn about game design, about game theory. You had to learn about the language that you were going to program in. You had to learn about how to port games out, and none of this was given to you. There were books that you had to read. Anytime you have to crack open a 400-page manual, that's when you know that you're actually deep into something. And that's everybody's experience back in the day. Now, there were plenty of crappy games back in the day, but what happened is that it was a forge for people who really cared about what they were doing, because there was such a high barrier to entry that in order to climb over that, you had to put in so much effort already. And if you were going to put in that effort, you probably actually cared about what you were going to do. And nowadays, it's just not that way anymore. The businesses are involved. The people who are funding these games have probably never played a video game in their life. And if they have, they definitely haven't played enough video games to know what makes a good one or a bad one. How many people remember when you played a game as a kid and you thought it was great because it was one of the first couple games you played? I have a really good example of this. Toy Story 1 for the Sega Genesis was a game that I was obsessed with as a kid, along with Goofy's something adventure. You were walking through a forest. These games were terrible. They were really difficult. They didn't have a whole lot of content in them, but I was obsessed with them because they were some of my first games that I'd ever played. Some of my first experiences with a console at my house and a game that I could play whenever I wanted to. And then I go back and play them now as an adult, and I realize that they weren't very good games. And so a lot of the people who are the heads of these companies, the companies that they're businessmen, they're out here trying to figure out how to make money off the games that they're selling. They haven't played enough games. They haven't had a long enough career in gaming to be able to actually understand what's going on. So what you have to do is you have to learn how to find the right devs who actually care about it. And I think that Blizzard is in the process of we need to find these right devs. We need to get back to that point because this game is failing. People don't like us anymore. The overwhelming interaction with the player base is why don't you fix this game? And I think that they just have to do it.
For the game. And it shows me that I can be interested in this without feeling I was incredibly surprised because I was like, oh, look, it's going to be a nostalgia event. Very cool, you know? Yeah, F off. I've been on the fence, and now you got me buying more with it. Yeah, I'm going to play it. I need to find a raid team because I used to be a Mythic Raider. and I want to get back into that. I'm on the fence about playing my mage or my guardian druid. Also, by the way, my mage was only level 50, and this event I got to level 70 in 1 hour. Do not buy a character boost.
Yep.
Just go do the event.
Yep.
Every time you finish one of the event mini quests, it's like a half a level. It's insane. So like, just go do it. Like, if you're gonna play, go level your character. Don't buy that.
And that'll get you back
There's
into
no
playing
for
the
it.
character.
It's
too.
even faster to level in Remix. I have to go check it out. I'm blown away by it, dude. It's completely insane to me. You want to know something funny? One of the things that I did as a raid leader, because I was a raid leader forever, all the way from Nax 40 up until like Legion, I think is the last time I raid led. The thing that I found that was very funny was a lot of players use add-ons because they see like the big streamers and you know, endgame raiders using add-ons, and they use them wrong. Many people that are at the top end, they use add-ons as a bonus on top of their already very clear understanding of the video game. They know exactly what they're doing. They know why they're doing it. And because of that, they use an add-on to amplify themselves. It's a bonus effect. Many new players don't have the understanding of the game that is required to do that. So they use add-ons instead as a crutch, where the add-on tells you how to play rather than you understanding that the add-on is there for extra benefit.
I see this all the time in basically any community that you can find on the internet, especially the one that that I've taken a lot of notice of over the past couple of years, which is the bodybuilding community, that people are so hungry for what the best of the best are doing that they go out and they try to watch all these videos talking about, oh, this is what I eat, these are the supplements that I take, these are all the things. But what you don't understand is that they're using all of that stuff because they're looking for that last 3% to get up to 100. They had to work on the 97 years and years and years ago to even get where they are today. They had to get their diet right, they had to figure out how to train, they had to get the mind-muscle connection down, they had to do all these things that are super important at the base level. But they don't talk about that anymore because they have already done it so long ago that they don't even have to think about it. It has become ingrained in them as a person. The thing that they're thinking about is, oh, my kidney function is a little bit reduced, so I take this renal support pill, and oh, you know, I take this supplement for my bone density, and oh, you know, I need this amount because I have a deficiency in magnesium or whatever. These kinds of things that people do are not, they don't move over to you in any kind of way. The add-ons that people are using as a bonus for them are ones that they've specifically seen for themselves that help them, and you haven't played the game long enough to even know where you are in this whole thing to know which add-ons you actually need. When I first played World of Warcraft, I didn't use... I still almost never use add-ons unless I need them for something specific, like finding all the dragon riding glyphs back when... Dragonflight was a thing and everyone was playing that. That was a specific add-on that I had downloaded. But in general, I don't use hardly any add-ons, and I've rated Mythic 2. I just don't see a purpose for it completely. I know that as you get further and further, they become more and more important, but I think that challenging yourself to get to the pinnacle of what you can do unassisted and natural, natty, without any steroids, then that's the time where you should start adding in the stuff if you want to go to that next level. If you're not happy with your experience currently, and you're not happy with where you're at, and you know that you want to push a little bit further, then start using that stuff.
They use it to be the whole game. And what I found was that players who were using add-ons in this way, which is the grand majority, sucked ass. I banned add-ons in the raids. And you know what ended up happening? We started downing bosses that we couldn't kill before because the add-on didn't tell me to get out of the fire. That was the biggest thing that I've learned through raiding and through being a raid leader, is that you need to make sure that the player has the core competency skills to effectively use the add-on,
100%.
not just using the add-on. Main tank drama is bad in guilds. One of the rules that I always have is that the main tank can never be the raid leader, and neither of those people can be the guild leader. These three things need to be separated. If you don't separate these three things, you get big head syndrome instantly. When I was the raid leader, I did that as a mage. The reason why is because when you're a main tank and you're a raid leader, you can't see
Yeah.
You see the ass of a boss 99% of the time. It does not work. When you're a mage, you get to be very far out. You can see the entire fight, and you can see where everyone is and see if people are positioning correctly. You don't want your main tank to be a raid leader. You do not want that. So the main tank needs to be a completely separate person. When I raid lead, I'm a mage. When I'm main tanking, I'm main tanking. And as a guild leader, I will never do either of these two things. I will bring in other people to do that.
I agree with this whole statement completely. Being a guild leader is such an interesting concept, one that I've just started getting into over the past few weeks. And what you really kind of realize is that you become very quickly this kind of figurehead that's sort of defining where it's going to go. And I remember this from being a musician back in the day. So I was a musician for a very long time. I played in a band that was minorly successful, at least in the area that we were playing in. And I sort of, with another guy who was in the band, we would sort of trade off this responsibility over the years that we were active, were the band leaders. And what the band leader did was decide what kind of music and what kind of vibe the band was going to have. You might not be the main songwriter, but you're the band leader. Like, a really good example of this is in Fall Out Boy, right? Patrick Stump is the band leader. He's deciding what the vibe and sound of the music is going to be because he's the main songwriter. And the songwriter doesn't have to be he's the sorry, he's the guy who's deciding the vibe because he's writing all the instrumentals and everything, but the actual songwriter, the person, I have this backwards. I'm so sorry. So Pete Wentz in Fall Out Boy is the band leader because he's deciding what the vibe and the sound is going to be of Fall Out Boy. He's writing the lyrics. He's sort of the one who creates the seeds of what's going to be grown. And Patrick Stump, who's the main songwriter, is the guy that's going to take those seeds and grow them to what they need to be. The guild leader is sowing the seeds of the community, and the community are the ones who are growing those seeds. They have to take them and they have to work with them and get to where you want to go to. So it's sort of a machine that's working. Nobody is more or less important. They're all just different positions, and different people are suited for different positions. That's the thing that you have to learn about all of this, is that the things that suit you are really, really important to know.
Need to be separated. Now understand, this doesn't mean that it needs to be separated at all times. There are people out there that are really good at doing these things. There are very high-end players doing this. The average player is not a top-end player in World of Warcraft. The average player does not know how to handle the
100%.
Perceived authority that they gain by being a main tank, a raid
I'm the
leader, or a
average
guild
player.
leader. And when you combine any of these effects, their head inflates to the size of the moon.
Yeah.
And it becomes a massive problem for everyone else who just wants to play the goddamn video game. You gonna stream it? I might. There's an old joke that unless you're Asmongold, or like a very small group of people that stream WoW, when you stream WoW, you do that to retire as a streamer. Everyone, I want to let you know that I'm retiring as a streamer, and I'm converting the stream over to a World of Warcraft only stream. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, streaming World of Warcraft is definitely one of those things where you can very quickly get into this thing where you're just mythic raiding all the time, and that's all anybody wants to see from you, and they show up just to watch, to learn. It's such an odd community in that way. I don't know a whole lot of MMOs that have such a pen and paper, I will take notes and figure out how to get better at this MMO for the clout, but I think it comes along with the fact that it's the #1 MMO in the world, and that's part of the big thing about it, is that people perceive that there is clout to be had there, so they want to get it. And also, Asmongold makes that happen because he's such a personality and such a large YouTuber and content creator and streamer that people perceive what he does as being the best way to do it, but it has way more to do with him than the games that he actually plays. So it was a good video. If you don't know who Pirate Software is and you haven't looked at him before and you're not subscribed of these 2.21 million subscribers that he has, you should definitely go and do that and learn about him. But I'm saying that you probably know who he is already. So good video. Nice to see everybody, and peace out. Be safe out there, guys. Bye.